Welcome to your own show, Technical
Yeah,
Textile.
welcome to Tech Textile.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tech Textile. So
Areas for us to make sure it's been promoted. So those all are areas which are currently being done, but we have a focus today on knowledge on the medical side and on the geotextile side.
okay, that's great. So, so exhibition industry nowadays, in the worldwide, it's not in India. Like people are preferring more online and they want to have the nearby shows and everything, the cluster-based show. So how is you think as an exhibition industry, like people will go to more national and international shows or the cluster-based shows?
So I didn't agree with your statement for sure,
Okay.
because from what we've seen from 22 to 23, our shows have grown exhibitor-wise and visitor-wise. No visitor said to me, I'm looking for a cluster show or I'm looking for a regional show. They're coming to the major shows. My shows in Asia as well as in Europe have grown, and the visitors are coming back. Of course, we had a dip in visitors from international because of pandemic and travel restrictions, visa issues. These are logistical issues which stopped people traveling, not because they didn't want to travel. They couldn't go because they couldn't get the documentation to travel. Yeah.
Correct.
So I believe that the requirement for face-to-face meetings and people coming to these exhibitions that we held in the past before the pandemic has not only come back, but it's increased because people really missed the face-to-face interaction. They really missed the face-to-face meetings, and today we have this back, and it hasn't become clustered or regional for us anyway, for Messe Frankfurt. Maybe we're not exposed to it as much, but my visitors have been extremely happy with the shows we put on, and they're coming from across the nation. We do a lot of visitor analysis of where my visitors come from, and our visitor profile and the number of cities that we are attracting visitors to your show has increased drastically. So on your initial statement of not wanting to go to shows, I think I can tell you from my experience, it's not what I've experienced.
Okay. So, and the TEXTILES Germany and TEXTILES India, I think there's a vast difference, the show-wise and everything. So the main reason is the Indian market, like it's not growing, or how it is. So.
No, the Indian market is growing,
Yes,
but where
right.
India is starting is 10-15 years behind Europe.
Yeah.
So you're catching up. So it's vastly different because TEXTILES Germany, if you look at all the where the industry is in Europe, is far ahead in technical textiles than we are in India. But India is catching up very, very quickly. It's only been really the last 3 to 5 years where there's been so much emphasis on technical textiles, and there's been a lot of impetus by the government also to grow these hubs for people in technical textiles. They've given a lot of initiatives for manufacturers to go into technical textiles, startups to go into technical textiles. So all these initiatives have been happening so that takes time. By the time you take up the initiative, start your plant, start producing, it cannot happen overnight. So India is growing very, very quickly and very fast into technical textiles, and it will catch up very, very quickly. But at the moment, you see the difference in the shows is because the market in India is in a different life cycle to the market in Europe, and that's normal, and that's why Messe Frankfurt is so good, because we can adapt our shows to the markets that we're in. This is why my technical textiles show here doesn't look like the Frankfurt show, because this market is not ready for that show yet, because the life cycle of the sector is at a different stage to where Europe is. In the same breath, China is in a different stage to where India is. So we adapt our shows to the markets that we're in. And this gives us the benefit from other companies, because we see the life cycle of any sector, and then we try to provide to that sector according to their life cycle. But I'm very confident that this show will start catching up with the German show, because things are moving extremely fast now here in technical textiles. And I think COVID has really fast forwarded that process, especially in the south. For the hygiene sector and the medical sector, because they really benefited a lot, and a lot of innovation has happened following that.
Correct. So TEXTILES, I think, happening in China, Russia, I guess, in US.
Yes,
there are many cities. So how is the India ranking in across all the shows of TEXTILES?
Well, ranking in what perspective?
In terms of revenue, in terms of
you can't. You just cannot compare. Even in revenue terms, you cannot compare, because the price.
The business point of view. Also,
it's actually you have to look at it from a market perspective. So if I have to compare apples and apples, and I have to look at textile, for example, in China 10 years ago to India, then I can compare like for like. And I would say, okay, 10 years ago, textile in China or Sinte in China was looking pretty much like this show today. But today, if I compare it, it's apples and oranges. You can't compare the shows because they are going through different life cycles. But the fact that you have a technical textile show in India, which is growing, and you can see from outside when you go through the shop floor how many companies are here, the vast variety of products that we've got on display shows that technical textiles is growing in India. You can see also what the government is doing. So this is a very, very good position. And like I said, I'm 100% sure that the speed that it's moving at, Textile India will be very much on par with our European and Chinese counterparts in the next few years.
That's great. So anything else like now in India, it's like a startups. A lot of startups are coming in fashion and technical textile industry, like a lot of people. So what as wisdom you give to all the startups who is coming to the technical textile? What points they should know before coming to this industry?
I think it's the same as all points. The technical textile is a very niche, very, very specialized area, especially when it comes to production. But the fact is that everybody's moving to technical textiles. It's a very important part, and it's going to be a very important role in every field going forward. Whether it's medical, whether it's sports, whether it's your construction, it's going to be extremely important that you are there and you're meeting standards. Luckily, here in India, they are putting so many standards in place.
Yes.
I think the government has put something like 600 plus standards in place over the last few years in technical textiles. Standards are so important because that's when you can then take your products that you are providing here and they meet all standards worldwide. So because you're putting standards in here already. So all I say is that, if you're coming into technical textiles, you're going into the startups, you've got a lot of initiatives that are helping you develop your business. You have a consumer base in India, which is more than enough for you to really develop and establish yourself. Do that first in your home base, then look at what you can do, from a global base and expand out that way. And just follow the standards. Because if you've got standards, then it doesn't matter where you go to, you will meet the requirements. And that's what that's the only advice I can give. But I think the people who are inside of these individual segments are very well versed on technical textiles, I believe.
Correct. I think that sports textile is the highest, fastest industry that's growing. So I think a lot of people are investing in sports textiles and.
So sports textiles is one of the fastest growing ones, I would say, globally.
Globally, yes.
But yeah, in India, I think for the sports textiles, the special material, I think we're still importing.
Yes.
And I think that's the area where we have to not be reliant on importing this material and producing the material. And then, of course, it becomes another area where India is then manufacturing and growing very, very quickly. But sport textiles, absolutely 100%. It's a huge market. Growing very, very quickly, covers so much because it covers apparel. It started with sports, but now the way we want to live, it covers many, many aspects of our living. So I think that is an area. But I think with India, the raw material is being imported, whereas I think we can actually be much more forward in producing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one last question is, do you anytime planning the application-wise show, like medical textile or geotextile? Is there in mind?
So we are doing some planning at the moment for more on the medical side, because it's a very important segment, and it's a segment that's already strong in India, and not only strong from a technical textile, but if you look at medical tourism, it's very big in India.
Yes.
Medical hygiene equipment, very big in India. So all of this links up very well. So we are planning to see if we can do something in this field, a little bit more focused, a little bit more maybe based in a important region, and we'll see where we can go with that. But there will be all these segments could have its place on their own from an application perspective. but we'll start step by step. First and foremost was obviously after pandemic to get Textile, the show, back strong with the right crowd, with the right niche visitors, relevant visitors to the show, and from there we'll take the next steps, because India is a very, very important market for Messe Frankfurt, and we will continue to now build up on the sectors that we have and add more sectors to our portfolio so that